Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. I am Roasted Dolphin, as in Roasted Dolphin's Crochet Shop, but today we are doing something different than crochet. We are trying out a new video for the channel. We are trying out reading Reddit no sleep stories, scary stories, and yeah, I hope you guys enjoy. I've had a lot of people tell me that my voice is really good for storytelling and that my storytelling is really good and to try it out on YouTube. So that is what I'm doing. If you enjoy, please leave a like, comment down below what type of stories you want to hear next, and subscribe to see more. And yeah, I have also been doing other crafts besides crochet. I've recently gotten into cross stitch. So that is a little update for you guys. This is the cross stitch I'm working on right now. And yeah, I will probably make a video about like cross stitch once I learn the ins and outs of it. But yeah, let's get into reading. Whenever I'm reading, I will put the username of the person that posted it on the screen. I don't know if I'll put the title because sometimes the titles are, they reveal too much of the story, so I may not read the titles. But yeah, I hope you enjoy. Let's get into it. Okay, you guys, so this first video is by I'm Funerals. If my voice starts to sound raspy, by the way, I have been sick for a couple of weeks and I'm still dealing with throat stuff, so yeah, I'm sorry about that. But yeah, let's get into the story. I've been a structural damage assessor for going on 10 years now. The job is exactly what it sounds like. A building gets destroyed, whether it's fire, flood, gas explosion, structural collapse, whatever. And once the emergency crews are done and the scene is cleared and everyone who had feelings about the building has gone home to have those feelings somewhere else, I go in. I walk the structure and document what's standing and what isn't. I file a report that tells the county, the contractor, or the insurance company whether the building can be salvaged or needs to come down. I go in alone. I come out alone. I write the report, and I move on to the next one. 10 years of that. Dozens of destroyed buildings. It doesn't get to you the way people expect. It goes the other way. After a while, a destroyed building is just a destroyed building. You stop seeing what it used to be, and you start seeing load-bearing walls and the path of least resistance through something that's trying to fall. I'm telling you all this now because I need someone else to know. The first house was in February. A gas leak took out the kitchen and most of the ground floor and left the upstairs looking like nothing happened except for the smoke damage on the ceiling and the way every window was blown out. I've seen it 100 times. The explosion travels the path of least resistance and everything above it just sits there, intact, structurally sound, and completely exposed. I documented the ground floor, noted the compromised load-bearing wall on the north side, and went upstairs to check the structural integrity of the second floor. 3 bedrooms. 2 of them were what I expected. Smoke damage with cracked drywall where the ceiling had shifted and furniture thrown around from the blast pressure. The 3rd bedroom at the end of the hall was untouched. A made bed with a dark green comforter pulled tight, a nightstand with a glass of water and an ashtray, a pack of cigarettes next to a lighter. I noted it in my report. Structurally sound room, personal effects undisturbed, recommend contents evaluation before demolition. I photographed it and moved on. I didn't think about it again. Not until the second house. The second house was in March. This one was an electrical fire on the east side of the county in an older neighborhood. The fire started in the walls and gutted the structure from the inside before anyone smelled smoke. By the time the trucks arrived, there wasn't much left of the first floor or the east wing. The west wing was standing. I went through the West Wing room by room, documented the smoke penetration, the heat damage to the ceiling joist, and the way the floor was soft in 3 spots where the subfloor had been compromised. At the end of the hall there was a bedroom. I opened the door. A made bed with a dark green comforter pulled tight, a nightstand with a glass of water and an ashtray, a pack of cigarettes next to a lighter. I stood in the doorway for a moment. Then I took out my phone and looked at the photos from the February house. Same comforter, same ashtray, same arrangement on the nightstand. I did what any reasonable person would do, which was try to talk myself out of it. Dark green comforters are common, cheap lighters and ashtrays are common. A lot of smokers keep their cigarettes on their nightstand. Coincidence. Old housing stock, similar taste and decor, nothing unusual. I wrote the report and moved on. The third house was in April. Flood damage from a burst main. Downtown, one of those narrow 3-story buildings that used to be commercial on the ground floor and residential above. The ground floor was gutted. The first and second floors had significant water damage, warped floors, compromised drywall, and mold already starting in the corners. The third floor, at the end of the hall. I opened the door and I felt something tighten in my chest. The same goddamn room. But the bed wasn't made as tightly this time. The comforter was pulled up, but there was a slight depression in the pillow, like someone had been lying there and gotten up and made the bed quickly, not quite smoothing everything back. And the ashtray had a cigarette in it, half smoked. The ash was intact, like it had been set down and left there. I took photographs for a long time. I measured the room. I checked the wallpaper pattern against my photos from the previous 2 houses. The same faded patch near the window, the same place where the paper had lifted slightly at the seam near the door. I went home and I googled the wallpaper pattern. It was discontinued in 1987. The manufacturer doesn't exist anymore. I filed my report. I decided not to mention the room. I didn't sleep well that night. The fourth house was in May. I almost didn't go in. I sat in my truck in front of the building for 15 minutes before I could make myself open the door. Fire damage, residential, outer edge of the county, single-family home. I went through the motions on the lower floors, documented everything, took my photos, wrote my notes in shorthand. Upstairs, at the end of the hall, I opened the door. Of course, the same fucking everything. Except the mattress. I know my own mattress. I bought it 4 years ago after my back started giving me trouble from a pinched nerve. It was my mattress. I tried to think about all the reasonable explanations. I couldn't find one. I took a photo of the mattress tag. I went home and I checked my own mattress tag. It was the same model, same manufacturer date. I poured myself a drink and sat at my kitchen table for a long time. And then I told myself there were probably thousands of those mattresses in my county and went to bed. The fifth house was last week. I knew before I opened the door at the end of the hall. I'd known since the fourth house that this was where it was going. I opened the door anyway. Some part of me needed to see it. The room was mine. Completely. The landscape print I've had since my mom died, and I kept it because she gave it to me, not because I like it. The specific bleach stain on the fitted sheet from the summer where I spilled cleaning solution and didn't notice until laundry day. All of it. In a destroyed building on the east side of Hoseki, in a room that smelled like clover. The bed was occupied. I couldn't see a face. The figure was on its side, turned away, the comforter pulled up, but I could see it was my build. My hair on the pillow, the way I sleep when I'm exhausted, one arm tucked under it. I stood in that doorway for a long time. Then I closed the door very quietly, walked down the hall and out of the building and got in my truck. I drove home. I'm writing this from my kitchen table. It's 11 o'clock at night. I came home tonight, walked upstairs, stood in my bedroom doorway, and I looked at my room for a long time. The bed is made. I never make my bed. The nightstand is clear. No charger cable, no glass of water, no clutter. The bleach-stained sheet is gone. The landscape print my mom gave me is gone. The mattress is made up with sheets I don't recognize tucked tight at the corners. My bedroom looks like a room nobody lives in. It looked like the room I found the first time, untouched, like someone just stepped out. I don't know where I've been sleeping. I don't know how long I've been gone. I'm going to call my friend Dave tomorrow. We're supposed to get beers on Saturday anyway. I think I just need someone to tell me I seem like myself. And that is the end. So I liked it. It was creepy. I liked how at the end it was his bedroom. I wasn't expecting that. And now he's worried that he's someone else, which is scary. But I liked it. There are some comments. Someone said, Bandito13 said the mattress detail got me. Not just the same room, but your actual mattress in someone else's destroyed house. That's the part where I'd stop being able to rationalize. The bed being made in your own house when you never make it is the quietest, most unsettling thing here. No explosion, no fire, just a room that doesn't belong to you anymore. Hope Dave buys you that beer. And OP responded and said I could rationalize the cigarettes. Hell, I could rationalize the room. I couldn't rationalize something that had been under my back for years. But yeah, I like it. So now we are gonna go on to the next story. Okay, you guys, so this next no sleep story is by the username Mint Caboodle. I hope I'm saying that right. So let's get started. I haven't worked here that long. Maybe that's why I didn't know better. Sorry for any typos. My hands are shaking as I'm typing this. I just needed somewhere to write it all down, to make me feel like it was real, but as the hours go by, I'm starting to wonder if I imagined it all. So I work for the government. Started a few weeks ago. Don't get it twisted, this isn't some top secret, high clearance federal shit with real mystique. I work for the state at the Department of Public Health. I'm an assistant to the primary data analyst, going in every day and preparing reports, attending meetings, sending emails. Your usual office slog. I was just excited to have a stable 9 to 5, especially one that put my statistics minor to use. I've been jumping between retail jobs since graduation last year. I set up my cubicle with the usual, folders, pictures, a few books, and a cheap hand-me-down clock that has some characteristic damages from so many moves. It took them a while after I started to get me a computer. The government runs slow like that, as I'm sure all of you know. For the first couple of days, I just twiddled my thumbs and tried to look busy while playing card games on my phone. Everyone in my department was really nice about it, apologizing for the inconvenience and telling me I could do whatever. That's probably why when IT finally got me my tech, I was eager to overcompensate for lost time. Look, I'm not a super suck-up, but you want to make a good first impression at a new job, right? This time of year, summer is sneaking in but hasn't quite crossed the threshold yet. The government center is well kept as it can be for a building of its age, but the HVAC isn't exactly cutting edge. It was having a hard time keeping up with the springtime temperature swings. I came in wearing a thick wool cardigan, but had shed it over my chair by 10 a.m. that morning. Various other cubicles had coats and jackets strewn on the edges, victims of the cold morning subdued by afternoon heat. I'm not sure how it is in other places, but here, almost all our statewide agencies are in one giant building. On top of that, the health department is one of the largest, so our section takes up half a floor by itself. If you've ever worked an office job of a decent size, you know a field of gray cubicles can cross a huge berth and you can barely see the sunlight through the windows at the end, blocked by private supervisor offices naturally. The state pinches every penny possible. Don't worry, your tax dollars won't pay for so much as a decorative wall hanging in our office or a new keyboard that isn't missing the asterisk symbol. It's stark, sterile, and just as monochrome as you think. But there's good people, okay? No one works these jobs for the money. That's why it wasn't until after 6:30 that the last other employee left. It was Aisley, not from the analytics department, but from epidemiology. She's an older woman who was always kind to me, stopping to say farewell on her way out every night. Not hard to do since my cube is the very last one on the end before the employee door, but still, it was one of the few fleeting interactions I had that wasn't about a deadline. Tonight, she insisted I didn't work too much longer, that I was too young for that, and it would give me wrinkles like hers. I told her I just had a couple spreadsheets to clean up, and then I had a date with my Nintendo Switch. The thick back door clunked as it latched behind her. Long quiet began its heavy rain. In the distance, I could see tinges of rich red, coloring the painted metal edges of the office doors. The sunset crept through blinds and bent distortions across the mottled carpet like broken fingers. Some of them reached, skeletal and long in the golden hours, right toward my dark corner of the floor. I shivered, pulling my cardigan back on. The static of the wool prickled, fibers raking against my goosebumps. The clack of my outdated keyboard echoed louder in the tenfold quiet. I tapped my tan shoes against the floor. I finished pruning some columns from one empty county report and closed it out. My dusty blue clock ticked at me, hand twitching under a hairline crack in the face. 6:47. A chunk of paint on the side was peeling off in the shape of a smile. I plucked it, leaving a gaping wound of exposed black plastic. One more sheet, I told myself, just some equation writing for the statewide flu records. The boss had said he wanted the charts as soon as I could do them, and I was still keen to impress. Brrr. I jumped in my threadbare office chair, just the heat kicking in as the night came on strong. The red oranges outside had cooled into a purple and blue bruise. It left no more warm traces on the floor. I ran a hand down my lanyard, fiddling with the latch on my ID badge. I was really struggling with one of the equations, and my bar chart wasn't displaying the way it was supposed to. I tried searching up answers online, but the crappy public internet had chosen that time to sputter out, leaving me bereft with a spinning load wheel. I didn't notice anything was wrong until I stood up. I remember now. I was thinking it would be a good idea to visit Andrew's desk and try to find his Excel guidebook, if only to kill the time until the internet kicked back in. But as soon as my head reached those dust-gray walls, all purpose exited my brain. There were cubicles, and there were cubicles, and then there were more cubicles. I imagine you've been to a coast before, but I'm not talking about the frou-frou tourist ones with dots of blueies and gentle rocks easing land into the ocean. I'm talking about the drop-offs. The ocean so abrupt and so sheer, the vast edge is like a cliff into another reality. My family took us all to Iceland one spring, right before my older sister moved across the country. We hiked a long route that eventually took us to a blisteringly cold beach. Frigid ocean spray-cut our cheeks open, tar-black sand melting into a colorless water against a colorless sky sick with clouds. A horizon line didn't exist. The sea just went and went and went. What I saw in that office seemed to go even further than that ocean. It seemed to reach infinity, uncaring, and then march past it. I blinked, hard. I crunched my eyes together so tightly that I felt a flake of my cheap mascara crawl under my eyelid. Still, the field of stiff geometry remained. Okay, sure. I must have had too much caffeine after lunch, and now the stress and darkness were teaming up on me. After all, this office was big. Like so big that it took you a solid few minutes to walk straight past it. I crept back toward my desk and sank into my seat. I breathed, counting to 10 like those Instagram posts tell you to do. I stood up, kept my eyes fixed to the ground, and began walking straight down the hall to where I knew Andrew's cubicle would be. The carpet began to shapeshift under my feet. Tacky swirls twined into each other, forming the distinct lines of a smile, a frown, a face of rage. If you asked me to draw it out now, I couldn't possibly. I couldn't even describe it right. It never looked the same way twice. but human beings having a gut reaction to the cues of another's face, and in that floor I saw desperate life trapped in the polyester fibers. I kept walking. I must have reached his desk by now. Surely I'd even passed it, and I would feel really silly when I knocked into a director's office door. I looked up. I was in front of my cubicle. Okay, fuck the book. I clearly just needed some fresh air, right? I spun around, ready to peel out the staff door. I know distinctly that I turned right out of my cubicle to leave. I've been doing it a few weeks already. In that direction stretched endless cubicles, but mine was still the last one on the end. I was overtaken by nausea. The mind isn't meant to comprehend space like that. It was like being inside a gyroscope where every turn forces you back into alignment. I was hyperventilating now. Hand shaking, I grabbed my phone from the desk. The black screen laughed back at me. Dead. Good as a brick. You never realize how much noise even the quietest office has. Phones ringing here and there, people chatting through Zoom meetings, feet tapping, an occasional sneeze, the hum of machinery. I realized then all those things were missing. I had never been in silence so complete, so absolute, so perfect. The more I stared into the churning ocean of parallels, the less it seemed to define itself. The speckled light gray of the ceiling smoothed out, taking on the static felt of the cubicles. The walls soaked up darkness from the swirling gray carpet. I felt bile push up my throat again. I glanced at my dusty clock. It stared back. 6:47 p.m. I probably could have tried something else. I could have breathed again, or could have tried to find a mirror or a weapon, or checked that my stupid old clock hadn't finally just broken for good. I ran. Tears pooled down my face, turning black in the wake of my stale makeup. I felt the hot sting as they beat against my mouth. My ID badge flapped left and right, lanyard raking across my neck as it flailed. My breath came hot and short, pitiful little gasps choked into hiccups. The gray carpet smiled and cried and begged and pleaded and screamed and laughed. My ankle caught. I folded down, down, down for ages and ages. I tumbled until the rug burn scraped my ankles. I swung my head around, desperate to keep moving, unsure why. I yanked my knees up, but they wouldn't separate themselves. Perfection crept over the soles of my beige flats until I couldn't tell where I ended and emptiness began. Nothing pursued me relentlessly. Nothing crept into my lungs, not one thing at all. I heard my throat choke on it, and then I heard nothing entirely. My hands weren't sinking into the carpet with my legs. They weren't anything at all. I only felt the lack of them because my head was still something, and I knew my name was knocking around inside. Please, I said. The badge scanner chirped. The employee door was heaved open. Excuse me, forgot my... Aisley stopped, dropping her handbag with a gasp. I couldn't blame her. There I was, collapsed on the floor, hot tears clogging my eyes, sweater torn and shoe scuffed. An Excel sheet shouldn't do that to someone, though I'm sure it has on certain tough days. Oh my God, are you okay? She rushed towards me, squatting down. Should I call 911? It took me a moment to remember. The world had not reassembled back in front of me gradually, only blinked into somethingness between seconds. The weight of my body felt invasive. I'm okay. I heard my own words as if hazy, forgotten of their form. The stress just got to me. Her dark eyebrows furrowed, unbelieving, but she didn't press. Okay. Can I walk you to your car? I nodded, swiping stained tears off my cheeks. Sure, let me just turn off my computer. My knees buckled the first time I tried to stand. The second time took. Aisley hovered outside my cubicle while I closed everything down with shaking hands. I glanced at my clock. Nearly 7. When I stood with my bag, I searched the far wall for office doors, finding them diminutive, but present. I exhaled, the air running thick and heavy in my nose, too full. We made the trek to the parking garage, Aisley bidding me goodnight once I was tucked inside my car with the engine humming. The noise grated my ears in a new way. Even now, curled up in the corner of my living room, I'm noticing how much stuff I have in my apartment. It overwhelms me. I keep staring by the door where I kicked off my work shoes in a pile. I thought they were tan. I know they were tan. They smile at me now, gray and swirling. And that's the end. And the title was Don't Stay Late for Work. But yeah, this was posted just 3 hours ago. But I liked it. I think it's good. I think it deserves to be on the best area of no sleep. So yeah, while I was looking through stories, I saved a few series that have a few parts, and I figured I could do a few videos dedicated to just those series. And I can do updates on it and stuff like that. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you like the stories like I like the stories. I hope you liked my storytelling. Let me know in the comments if you want to hear those series of stories that I found. Let me know in the comments if you want to see any other types of videos. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you want to see more, and I will see you in the next video. Peace out, y'all. Bye.